Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And Baba Yaga! I mean monkey, sorry.
And the three of us have all just gotten out of watching Ant-Man and the Wasp. Woohoo.
Da, 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 da.
I mean, there's not as much fanfare behind this as there was for Infinity War, Black Panther, that was there. Just like, yeah, this is a thing.
After, right after Infinity Wars, leaving the theater, I passed by a poster for this, and I'm like, yeah, no wonder they scheduled an Ant-Man movie to follow that.
Like the biggest scale possible, followed by the smallest scale possible.
So maybe not following Infinity War with a comedy.
Well, sure,
a comedic one.
Like maybe we shouldn't greet this movie.
I gotcha.
Yes, maybe we shouldn't greet this one with an Ant-Man and the Wasp, but Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's very mundane. Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay, yeah. Well, you know what? Just kind of going off of my thoughts, feelings, expectations, and so I wasn't expecting a ton out of this movie. I was just expecting this to kind of live up to the first movie, and that was about it. I really wanted more of the dynamic with all the three main leads, which we definitely got in the movie. I wanted more Michael Pena, which we definitely got in the movie. Here's the problem. The movie itself is just, I don't know, guys. It's just, for me, Act 1 was definitely the strongest bit. After that, it just kind of feels like it's spinning its wheels. We get a lot of moments. And I think the biggest problem with this movie is I'm not calling it bad in the same way that Spider-Man 3 is bad. But I will say that it has a very similar problem to Spider-Man 3, where I don't even know who the hell the villain's supposed to be. And I would say giving away any of we all assume that Ghost was going to be the main villain, but after this, I don't know. It's like, I feel like the movie doesn't know. I feel like this movie was way too complicated for such a simple premise, and that's why, by all intents and purposes, I don't think this is as good as the first movie. I think this is a pretty substantial step down from the first movie, and I will say, get ready for your big kind of headline here, folks. Ant-Man and the Wasp is the Thor: The Dark World of Phase 3.
Oh, that's harsh.
It's true. It's true. I didn't get much out of this one at all. I don't really intend to see it a second time. It's just kind of there. I just kind of yeah, all right, that exists.
So who's next?
You.
Oh, okay. Well, Ant-Man was the second MCU movie I saw, so probably the one, the set of heroes I would be most attached to after Guardians. And yeah, Civil War, when I finally saw that fueled my pumped upness for this one. So I was expecting a nice time, and I'm kind of the opposite of Tiki. I quite liked this one. I thought it was a fine follow-up sequel. It didn't feel as cliched as the first one did. It had more fun with the size gags. I would call Ghost an antagonist, but an understandable one. I kind of like how the only character who's who isn't an understandable antagonist isn't even a main antagonist. He's a side one. So I kind of like that. Oh, also, important. Michael Cerverus is in the movie. Wow. Huh. Yeah, so we got Professor Pig in a Marvel movie, I guess. Was it his scene? I was like, wait, is that Michael Cerverus? It was. That's pretty cool. But yeah, so I'm on the more positive end of the spectrum. This one did work for me, I gotta say.
Dragon.
All right, so I have a great love for the first Ant-Man movie. I really like it. It's just kind of this, it's for me one of the most rewatchable of the MCU movies. It really is. So I've always been
Hmm.
kind of going over. It's always been my comparison. Oh my God, Ant-Man's so rewatchable. It's so delightful. It's so nice. And you're getting ready for Ant-Man and the Wasp. I was very much looking forward to this movie. Very interested in marketing and such. And so like the week of, I rewatched Ant Man. Then I basically watched all the Ant Man clips of Civil War, and like the 2 days before the movie came out, again just kind of building up my anticipation. And I saw it, and I got to tell you this: I had a really bizarre theater experience. I for some reason the showing that I had picked, something had gone awry,
Hmm.
and I guess they said like the file was corrupted or something. And doing that,
Oh God, wait. But you still got to see the movie tonight, of course.
yes, I'm getting to that.
Yeah,
Yes.
sorry. It's just because the night I went to see Incredibles 2 Thursday night, like late night, the file was corrupted, and so yeah, by this point it was like after 11, so I didn't get to see the movie till the next day.
Well, essentially, what happened. So I was going. My time, I was seeing a 7:30 showing,
Hmm.
and when I did that, I was like, I had my ticket. It was like, oh boy, had everything. My little merry band, my merry Marvel band, if you will. We were like, oh boy, we're gonna see Ant Man and the Wasp. We were palling around, we were chatting like, oh boy, it's gonna be so great. Talking about a little bit of Steven Universe on the set. I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a delightful little time. And we're going to the theater. We have our tickets. Like, I'm all organized. Like, okay, no, everyone's gonna sit. And it's gonna be nice. And we're all. I'm triumphantly about to take my first step into like the section where all the theaters are, where all the showings are, and I'm stopped. I'm getting like kind of like a sense in the air, like Brad Bird when he saw Iron Giant for a moment, where I'm getting a sense where they're telling me to stop, and I'm hearing like murmurs of like, oh yeah, just the rest of my party kind of waiting to the side here. What's going on there? I'm told like, oh yeah, wait over there, and I'm basically filled in about the whole file being corrupted, and they're figuring out what's going to happen here. Like we have no idea what's going to happen. Like people in groups and groups are going up to like the guest services counter, and they're being redirected to other showings. So basically, they're being upgraded, but you got to bear in mind these are tickets that are bought in advance. So basically, you can't just like clear a whole theater to play it. So basically, it's like now this perfectly laid plan is now complete and utter chaos. As in now, like every theater is like it's like instead of like being, I have like a whole row to myself and my party,
Wait,
and
was it
now it's like
reserved seating?
yeah, it's reserved seating, so that's the thing. Well, now it's like going into this, you have to pick out your seats, and of course, the seats are in theaters that are taken in from other showtimes. So I had to pick. I had either like 7:30, which was a 3D showing. I had 9 o'clock, or I had 9:30. Those are the three I had to pick from. 9 o'clock and 9:30. Very spread out seating. Very like it's not optional. Plus, everyone has other things to do, so it's like we all set out. 7:30 is a very last minute change of pace. And basically, we kind of bit the bullet and like, yeah, we'll see it in 3D because there were tons of seats for 3D. I wonder why. And we so we had a lot. Basically, we sat comfortably, but with 3D. So I wasn't crazy about the 3D aspect of it when I was watching the movie. After
So it
kind of like,
wasn't good 3D.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, the things popped. I think the trailers kind of came more alive with the 3D. But the point
Was
is,
it? Did it at least look three
I,
dimensional?
I mean, the size effects, yeah, there were three-dimensional elements, but I really, it's like, here's the thing. For 3D, I just kind of I reach a point where I just kind of cease to notice when I'm watching the movies, which is kind of pointless
Hmm.
for me. I don't like 3D. I guess I've grown out of 3D, I should say. Like, I'm not against it as a whole. Like, as a novelty, it's cool, but as like when we basically, what's the crap the process, when
Conversion.
we convert the 3D, it's like, what's the point?
I
So
mean, there are good conversions, but it's got to be a good conversion.
yeah. Anyway, so the point is, I was kind of worried that was going to ruin my whole viewing, and I definitely want to see it a second time. But just even with that, all this stuff just kind of like trying to kind of like what all this stuff trying to ruin my time with Ant Man and the Wasp. I watched it. You know what? We had a blast. The theater we were having a good time with, and that's honestly what it is. The movie is it's kind of I think it's a perfect balance to no pun intended. It's kind of a balance with this and Infinity War. Like after Infinity War, kind of our big,
Mhm.
the big amped up, huge, dramatic occurrence in the Marvel Cinematic Universe after 10 years. You got to remember, folks, these are both big 10-year milestones for Marvel. These two movies, like after Ant-Man and the Wasp, you have 20 movies from Marvel. It's the perfect balance, kind of perfect counterbalance to Infinity War, in that it's very fun, lighthearted. It's funny. It was a good continuation, which is what I wanted. What I was really impressed by most is that it felt like the direction of the Ant-Man comics in recent years. Where the Scott Lang starring, like it basically. I'm just trying to make sure I don't give any too much away here. Let's just say we do a lot of stuff that kind of Scott Lang had been doing, like kind of post being an Avenger. That was kind of the arc in the comics where this guy's known for being, oh my god, Ant-Man's a legacy guy in the Avengers, and then here's the thief who kind of stepped into the Ant-Man costume, and he was kind of a celebrity. It's like basically you're like a pseudo celebrity, living, who's an ex-con, living kind of a mundane, you kind of doing some mundane day-to-day stuff. So it was Ant-Man with real problems in the aftermath of the MCU, which is kind of what I wanted from the movie, and we definitely explored that. And I wanted to see Ghost, and we did some cool stuff with Ghost. I'll say this much without getting too into it. I wasn't let down by Ghost, but I do feel there was something missing, and we'll elaborate on that when they're in a spoiler cast or something. I'll get into like the exact reason why, but there was
this movie's got a villain problem because it's got, like, without getting too into it, it's got 3 characters, and I don't know which one of them is supposed to be the main villain. And
to be fair, it's really just two villain characters technically.
Yeah, but then you've also got another guy who's he's not exactly on our side either. So
yeah, but he's delightful though.
Well, yeah, but still.
I'm just saying he's barely okay. Let's not get into semantics. The point is,
I do appreciate how it's like, even though they do make specific references to the events of Civil War, it does feel like you could still watch this without having seen Civil War. Like if you've only seen the first Ant-Man.
Sure. You could. It's
like they tell you enough, so could be just kind of this is a thing that happened.
We recap things enough, and I'll say that
recap.
Yes. Yes, we do. We recap things, and by the same token, I think that helps the movie in places, and I think it hinders it in some places. I think there's a balance struck there. And again, on the whole, I just think
I'm not saying this is a bad movie. I'm just saying this is a movie in the MCU that I'm really not going to go back to again and again. It doesn't have the rewatchability that the first Ant-Man does to me. I feel like it's kind of a mess structurally in certain places. It's fun. It's definitely got a good vibe to it. It's just like, I just don't think it's as sound in the structure.
Well, I'd agree that again, it doesn't surpass the first Ant-Man, but I don't know. I'd watch this again, but not to the same effect that I would the first Ant-Man movie. I'll give you that. Yeah, sure.
And I guess I watched it in Dolby Atmos, so I don't really have the incentive to go see it a second time. And because of that, Dragon, I gotta say, this is one of the first blockbuster films this year. I'm not saying this makes it a bad movie, and keep in mind with Solo, I wouldn't have seen that again if I hadn't been roped into it with friends. But this is one of the few blockbuster movies this year that I am just probably not going to see it again. I have no incentive to. I've seen it once. It was a good time, but I feel like at the end of the day, it's an episode more than it is a movie, and that's kind of my main problem with it.
But it's a good episode, though.
It's a good episode, but you see what I mean? It's like even in the theater, we won't give away what the post-credit scene is, of course, but I will say in the theater, people were generally angered by the post-credit scene. They're like, come on, you can't play with our emotions like that, Marvel. Like, this is getting ridiculous, this whole kind of episode to episode thing, where I will say the most, without getting into specifics of it, the most exciting stuff for the MCU on the whole happens in the post-credit stuff. And I don't know, there's something a little bit nefarious about that. Just a little bit all right, we got you by the balls. You know what I
really love the mid, without saying what it is. I
like it. I like it a lot. I'm not saying it's a bad scene at all. But like I said, I am saying that people in my theater were frustrated by the fact that we basically had to sit through a whole movie to get to that.
Yeah. My audience had an audible reaction. I don't think it was anger, though. Yeah. And just saying, it worked for me here. like it could have, like I could be reacting to it a lot worse, but I'm dealing with it okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And it's funny. It's like I mean, I don't see, like, over the last few years or whatever, so many years, I don't see movies in theaters multiple times as much anymore, but I think this is one that I could go back to a second time.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Not going to fight you on that, of course.
Yeah,
Subjectivity is
of course.
subjective, but
Of course. Yeah.
all right.
Hey,
While I
question.
would go see La La Land 4 times in theaters.
What was the first part of that?
La La Land 4 times in theaters.
Was that how much you saw it?
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So question. Is Lawrence Fishburne the first actor to be in both the MCU and the DCEU?
You know, I don't think so, but I'm trying to think of who else has done that. 'Cause I don't
Yeah,
think...
I mean,
oh, wait, technically, Josh... Oh, wait, no. Oh, yeah, Josh Brolin. Yeah, he counts.
Wait, who was he in the...
Was he in the DCEU?
Oh, do you mean specifically the DCEU? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's right.
That's specific.
Yeah, except if it wasn't... Yeah, I mean, DCEU, so I'm not going to include Michael Cerveris in there.
And you can't include J.K. Simmons because the Spider-Man movie is MCU.
I still think
what if for his scene in this movie, Cerveris was wearing the pig mask? That would make the tone of... That would so go against the tone of that scene.
Oh, I have a suspicion there might be someone, but I gotta go through all the...
Yeah, I mean, there could be someone, but...
Yeah.
Maybe...
Oh, it's not in the most notable case of it. I think we can agree.
That would be so funny if, like, if we see Fishburne again in another movie, if he's like, I knew I should have been a journalist. If they were able to comment on that somehow.
Right. Well, Fishburne was good in it. We can say this much. You know, I thought Fishburne was good in the movie.
I thought he was I thought his character was a little bit wasted, but I kind of want to get more into that in the spoiler cast, of course. I thought there was a little bit of wasted potential with him.
I hear you.
I'm not saying what we got wasn't good. It was good. I'm just saying, you know, it's for the concept of the character, I don't think we went the full Monty with him.
No.
All right.
I'm going to partially disagree, but okay.
So yeah, guys, like I said, at the end of the day, it's not a bad movie, but I'm walking out of it the same way I walked out of Thor: The Dark World, in terms of like, yeah, I had fun, you know, I enjoyed myself, but this isn't a cinematic classic by any means. This isn't something that's gonna change the face of storytelling the same way that Infinity War or Black Panther did. And I know it's unfair. I know it's the whole point of it is that it's kind of like, you know, we're like Ant-Man is kind of like the palate cleanser. But you know what? I just wish, like, again, we'll talk about it more in the spoiler cast, of course, but I wish it was just a less messy palate cleanser. I wish that the elements that this movie did have came together in a cleaner way, in a way that was a little bit more satisfying.
You know, I I just think maybe we shouldn't. I think what you're saying is it needs to be simpler. I think it's could be simplified more, but not messy. I don't think it's really messy. I think we just have. I don't know. I think it's more a simplification matter. Like the first Ant-Man was very kind of simple and direct in what it was doing, and I think this one gets. We have a few extra. I think we have a few extra kind of strings kind of going along here. We're not really tying together as well. So I don't think it's messy.
I will say there's one character in particular who you could have cut out of the movie entirely, and it basically would have been the same movie.
I have a guess as to who you mean, but
of course, I don't want to say too much more because of the non-spoiler element of it all, but
the shrinking tech's really cool.
Yeah, definitely, and I would say my favorite part of the whole movie is the whole Honey, I Shrunk the Kids playground that Scott sets up for Cassie.
Oh yeah, that is fun.
It's okay. Let's not get too it.
I know. Let's not get too into it, but you all.
At least it's something right at the beginning.
Yeah. So yeah, folks. Look, I don't hate this movie by any means. It's definitely going to be a solid chapter in the MCU, but I will say, don't be surprised if when we do my Marvel rankings, this is going to be in my bottom 5, because that doesn't make it a bad movie. That just goes to show just how many awesome movies are in the MCU. And this is a good movie. I don't think it's an awesome movie. So that's kind of where I come down on it.
Yeah, I think, the Ant-Man franchise, to me at least, and I think to a lot of people, it's just the Ant-Man franchise. It's simply for me, it's simply the most likable Marvel franchise, and I think that's wonderful. It's just so he's just like Scott Lang, Paul Rudd, and again a lot of characters we expound upon in this one, like your Luises and so many other characters. Like they're all just so likable. It's so pleasant. It's a very nice movie.
Mm-hmm.
I just like that we have that little pocket in the MCU. We're doing all this great kind of diverse stuff, and hey, Ant-Man is it's right in the middle of it's like, what are we going to do in between movies? Ant-Man. Okay, yeah, we all like Ant-Man. Sure, it's like that. It's like kind of the happy days of the MCU,
All right.
But this one doesn't have Ron Howard. Take that, Solo.
Ah, shots fired. Shots fired. All right.
First? Are you saying I fired them first? I mean...
Oh, you fire them at the same time. Maybe.
Well, the thing about being a special edition is that it makes me special. I mean, I know we're all special in our own way, but what the fuck am I even saying right now?
And on that note, folks, have a good night and see you for the spoiler cast.